For me, I'm an extremely optimistic person. And so the way that I tend to look at things is with positive intent. And so first and foremost, it's leading with empathy. It's all about people and making sure that you're doing whatever you can for your team and for colleagues that are working with you. Second, there's just some table stake things for me that are extremely important. That's one around integrity, honesty, and ensuring that you're driving an organizational and business mindset of inclusion and equity, because it's extremely important to make sure we're bringing our best selves to work as individuals, but also ensuring that we're getting the best companies together to meet the expectations of our businesses. And then finally, for me, it's really about accountability and performance. And in that mindset, it's leading with anything is possible if you continue to change the Rubik's Cube until you find the solution. A solution is always there. You have to continue to look for it. And so I'm extremely, extremely motivated by continuing to drive for the best outcome. And I think that's the things that I live by. For me, it's been so interesting being in this profession for 30 years now. It's just amazing, the journey. My background kind of states it, but I've had the opportunity to work in many different companies and had the chance to have many different experiences. What I would say is enjoy the journey. The journey is just as important as the accomplishments and the end results. And there's so much learning in those journeys. If you spend the time to really tease out and have some reviews on what allowed success to happen. So spend the time enjoying the journey. Secondly, it would be to ensure that you're leading with a business mindset. I think many times we get focused on the function or the role or the position in which we're in. If we really take a step back and understand that our purpose is to deliver on behalf of our customers, and customers as defined as the end user of the products and services that we're producing or procuring or managing on their behalf, and not internally, but externally, then we can create the solutions not for just our internal business partners, but for our external customers that add value. And that in turn changes the way that you view the function and the function's role in helping the company be able to achieve its end state goals. The insights and lessons I wish I had learned early in my career. Probably the one for me, which may sound a little bit interesting, is the power of relationships. I think sometimes we don't realize how important and how connected we all are, and the benefits that come out of those relationships when cultivated the right way, respected, watered, nurtured. It's extremely powerful because those relationships allow you the opportunity to gain insights, expertise, to accelerate, to move in places you may have not had the opportunity to had you not spent the time to truly nurture them in the right way. And I think for me early on in my career, very much focused on how do you get, things done that were extremely important to you and your company. But once I realized that it is more about not just me, but the entire ecosystem, but then the value of the individuals that you surround yourselves with and how and where and when they can support you and you can support them becomes extremely valuable. 1 + 1 = 3. Yeah, I think what is interesting for us in this profession, and to your point, thinking about it when I first started in automotive with the Japanese company Honda of American Manufacturing, and one of the very first things that was happening at the time that I joined the company was this huge push to localization in North America as a result of the Labels Act that was instituted, where all the automobile manufacturers had to put local content stickers on their cars talking about where the content of the vehicle came from. And if you think about where we are today relative to tariffs, it's sort of in the same vein of us really trying to make sure that as a country and as a society that we have this balance in terms of how we're driving and ensuring that, this country and this world continues to achieve its very best, right, for its citizens and also for the companies that are here. The implications on our function to satisfy those requirements is essentially how entities are achieving those outcomes. So to achieve the requirements relative to back then, 30 years ago, the local content requirements, it required procurement professionals to go out and find suppliers to either localize product here in North America, or you were bringing companies in that could make those products for you here in North America. And now, as the world has become so global and our companies here in North America are not just producing for North America, but producing globally, it provides just another level of complexity where you're thinking about how do you satisfy the requirements for global companies locally, but also globally. And the lens that we as procurement professionals have to put on to allow that to actually manifest itself and be able to work on behalf of companies is really what's, I think, interesting for us today. And for me, when you think about what keeps me up at night, it's being able to balance those requirements of ensuring we can meet today's shareholders' requirements while we can continue to meet our internal customers' requirements, but also how do we meet our global customer requirements as well. So it's a pretty interesting place to be in. And that's just one lens when you just add, for example, the lens around just the overall supply situation. But then you also have, a world that's continuing to change. We're seeing, our supply base and the resilience of that being so important to us being able to meet the expectations of our manufacturing operations. And things such as the weather today is just such a significant impact. So you need to have just this incredible amount of knowledge and information so that you can pivot to ensure you're managing supply resilience in the context of ensuring you can meet the expectation of your internal operations today as well. It's just extremely important. And being in, many global companies, what's happening here in North America is different. What's happening in South America is different. What's happening in Asia is different. What's happening in Europe, and keeping a pulse on all of those things to be able to make sure you can satisfy those different requirements is one I find extremely interesting. So my first ISM world was probably over 25 years ago. And I've been coming to them since then. Haven't been able to make them all, of course, but have been coming to them since then. And what I find so important about these sessions is that they're actually practitioners really helping to uplift, engage, educate, train practitioners. And so it's those that are bringing the best and brightest of what they're doing today within their own companies or within their own intellectual curiosity areas, right? Things that they've really decided that they wanted to lean into, and they're bringing them here to share with their peer group. And the opportunity to be able to sit in sessions and have discussions around real world issues that are challenging today for individuals in this profession is why this is so valuable. And then the diversity of the content based on where and what you need as a professional to get out of this is also, I think, extremely important. The track process. So if you're looking for supplier management, if you're looking for sustainability, if you're looking for category management, if you're looking for financial acumen, it's all here. And so it's just all about being able to make sure that you're plotting your course and your path to allow you to be able to get the most of the overall sessions. And then finally, the community is one that is extremely important. I talked earlier about relationships, and the relationships that you can develop in this cohort of individuals that you can lean on outside of this event is extremely powerful.